Hello and welcome to IAMC Radio and Podcast. Today we'll explore the top news headlines for March 27.
We'll bring you a concise overview of the biggest stories from around the world.
We have quite a few developments to get to.
Yeah, we do. Ranging from international conflicts to economic policy shifts.
And human rights concerns.
So let's jump right in.
Okay, so starting with the ongoing tensions between Ukraine and Russia, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky recently made a pretty direct prediction about Russian President Vladimir Putin, speaking after a meeting with French President Macron in Paris.
Right.
Zelensky stated that Putin will die soon, and that's a fact, and it will come to an end. So this wasn't just like a random offhand comment, was it?
No, not at all. It really fits into a larger context.
Okay.
Zelensky's statement comes amidst these persistent reports about Putin's health.
Yeah.
There have been observations and claims, for a while now.
Right.
Things like incessant coughing, involuntary jerky movement, a puffy face, a twitching leg, bloodshot eyes. These have all been noted in his public appearances.
Interesting.
There were even reports from a 2022 meeting with his then defense minister, Sergei Shoigu.
Oh, wow.
Where Putin was seen slouching, gripping the table, and reportedly slurring his words.
Wow, okay.
And more recently, there's been observations of a limp.
Really?
Along with suggestions of, serious illnesses like cancer or Parkinson's disease.
Right.
Now, it's important to note that none of these reports are officially confirmed.
Yeah, of course.
But they do add another layer of complexity to this already tense geopolitical situation.
For sure, for sure. Okay, well, shifting gears a bit, let's move over to some economic news.
Okay.
President Trump announced some new tariffs on imported vehicles and parts. This seems like a pretty big move with potential global consequences.
It is a significant development. The new tariff is a 25% levy on all cars not made in the U.S.
Wow.
And it's set to take effect on April 3rd.
Okay.
This is going to impact foreign-made cars and light trucks. And to add to that, key automobile parts are also going to be subject to tariffs within the month.
So what has the immediate reaction been like?
Well, the market reaction has been pretty immediate.
Yeah.
Share prices for a number of automakers, including Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Mazda, Hyundai, Stellantis, Porsche, BMW, and Tata Motors have all declined.
Wow, that's a lot of companies.
And what's interesting is that even U.S. car giants, General Motors and Ford, saw their share prices fall in after-hours trading.
It seems like this announcement really caught some people off guard.
It seems that way, and analyst Joshua Money at Scope Markets actually suggested that expectations around sector-specific tariffs have been entirely undermined by this broader measure that was announced earlier than anticipated. Now, President Trump, during the signing of the order, he kept it pretty simple.
Yeah.
He just stated that the goal is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States.
Makes sense.
Which, clearly indicates his intention to bolster domestic production. And just for some context right now, about half the cars sold in the U.S. are made domestically, with Mexico and Canada being major sources of imports.
Makes sense.
Along with Japan, South Korea, and Germany.
Right. Big players in the auto industry. So this has obviously sparked quite a bit of reaction from other countries.
Oh, absolutely. The Japanese government called the tariffs extremely regrettable.
Yeah.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney even went as far as to call them a direct attack on Canadian workers.
Wow.
And French Finance Minister Eric Lombard stated that the EU is going to retaliate. They're going to respond with tariffs on American goods.
Makes sense.
The UK Finance Minister Rachel Reeves, she indicated that Britain wants to avoid escalating the trade wars.
Right.
Especially if they're trying to work out a post-Brexit trade deal with the US.
Yeah, very delicate situation.
Interestingly, in London, losses in the FTSE 100 were actually offset by gains in closed retailers.
Really?
And kind of looking at the global picture, around 10.30 GMT, major European and Tokyo markets were down. Hong Kong and Shanghai, they saw slight rises, and the New York Dow dipped a bit. And, of course, currency and oil prices are also fluctuating in response to all of this.
So a lot of moving parts in the global economy right now.
That's for sure.
All right, well, let's shift our focus now to a case involving a French Algerian writer, Boualem Sansal, who has been sentenced to 5 years in prison in Algeria. What exactly happened?
So Mr. Sansal was charged with undermining Algeria's territorial integrity. This stems from comments he made to a far-right French media outlet about France's decision to hand over Moroccan territory to Algeria during the colonial era.
I see.
And this is a very sensitive issue, as you can imagine.
Right.
And it aligns with a long-standing Moroccan claim to this territory. Now, Sansal's arrest back in November really just added more strain to the already fragile relationship between Algeria and France.
For sure.
And French President Macron has actually dismissed the accusations as not serious and called for Sansal's release, citing his age and poor health as reasons. His lawyer also condemned the sentence very strongly.
Yeah.
Now, one Algerian news site, they pointed out that this trial is quite significant for Algeria-France relations, which are already pretty tense, you know, over issues like migration and France's recognition of Moroccan sovereignty over Western Sahara.
Okay.
So Sansal, during his trial, he actually defended himself.
And what did he say?
He said he was just expressing an opinion on freedom of expression and that he didn't anticipate the kind of backlash she received.
Right.
Now, Algeria, on the other hand, they believe that the French right is fueling this dispute.
Okay.
And they see French diplomacy as favoring Morocco.
Interesting.
But despite all this tension,
Yeah.
Algerian President Tebboune has actually referred to Macron as his main partner in trying to improve ties. And he mentioned that this case is being handled appropriately.
So there's some hope for a resolution then. Well, one analyst suggested that a presidential pardon might be a possibility in the near future.
Okay, fingers crossed. All right, well, turning our attention to Nigeria now. There's a dispute within the Kano monarchy that has actually led to the cancellation of a very important cultural event.
I see.
So the 15th emir of Kano Aminu Ado Bayero, he has canceled the Salah Dobar.
Wow. Why is that?
It's due to some recent tensions within the royal family and fears of potential conflict.
Makes sense.
This is a huge event for the House of People.
Right.
So initially there were kind of conflicting signals about who would lead the celebrations. There was the state government-appointed Emir Muhammadu Sanusi II. And then there was Emir Bayero. But in an effort to prevent unrest, Emir Bayero announced the cancellation.
And what did he say?
He stated that, given the current circumstances, it has become necessary for us to withdraw any preparations we had made for this Salah Dobar.
He went on to say that. We are committed to ensuring peace in Kano. And he emphasized that he'd consulted with scholars, leaders, family members, and counselors.
So he's really trying to be thorough.
Yeah, it seems that way. He basically stressed that the tradition was not worth causing conflict.
Makes sense.
And urged everyone to focus on strengthening relationships during Salah.
A message of unity.
Absolutely. Okay, well, there's also been some pretty strong criticism directed at the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited.
The NNPCL?
Yes, regarding their management of Nigeria's oil sector. So Samuel Olekinan, who represents the Concerned Citizens Forum, he's accused the NNPCL of basically sabotaging Nigeria's energy sector.
Wow, okay, how so?
By stopping the Naira for Crude initiative. Now, this initiative was launched in October 2024. And it allowed domestic refineries to buy crude oil in Naira, which was intended to boost local refining, reduce import dependence, and strengthen the Naira.
That makes sense.
But Olekitan is warning that suspending this initiative will basically just perpetuate Nigeria's dependence on imported products and expose the country to global oil price swings.
I see.
He's arguing that forcing refineries to buy crude in U.S. dollars is only going to increase their costs and ultimately lead to higher fuel prices for consumers.
So it's going to hurt people's wallets.
Exactly. And he's even calling it an NNPCL anti-local refinery agenda.
Wow, that's a strong accusation.
It is. The NNPCL claims that they've committed crude production to forward contracts. So they say they don't have any supply left for the local refineries. But Olekitan finds this excuse very hard to believe. Especially given reports of increased Nigerian crude output since the initiative began.
Makes sense.
He's basically suggesting that this move is economically illogical, and he's calling it a deliberate act of economic sabotage.
Wow, so you think it's intentional?
Yes, and a betrayal of the Nigerian people. He's warning that this could lead to even higher fuel prices. And a further depreciation of the Naira.
Which would make things even harder for people.
Exactly. He's calling on President Trump to declare a state of emergency.
Wow.
On the leadership of this NNPCL.
Okay, big demands.
Okay, shifting our focus to the Middle East. There are reports that an Israeli airstrike in Gaza has killed a Hamas spokesperson.
I saw that.
So Hamas spokesperson Abdelatif al-Kanoa was killed in Jabalia, which is in northern Gaza. Early Thursday morning, Israeli fighter jets bombed his tent shelter, and several others, including children, were wounded in the attack.
That's awful.
This is part of a broader Israeli assault across Gaza that has actually intensified since the end of a 2-month ceasefire on March 18th. Israel's stated goal is to pressure Hamas to release captives. And recently, several other senior Hamas officials have also been targeted. On Sunday, an airstrike on Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis killed Ismail Barhoum, who's a top Hamas finance official.
I remember that.
And then on the same day, there was an attack on displaced persons' tents in Khan Yunis that killed Hamas leader Salah al-Bardawil and his wife.
It's tragic.
It is both Barhoum and al-Bardawil were members of Hamas's political office. And reports indicate that 11 of its 20 members have been killed since this war began in late 2023. And there was also a report of Palestinians protesting against the war and Hamas in Beit Lahia. So to give some context here, Hamas is currently holding 59 of the approximately 250 people who were taken captive in October 2023. And that was during that attack on southern Israel. That resulted in at least 1,139 deaths in Israel.
It's a complex situation.
It is tragically, since the conflict escalated, over 50,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza.
Oh my gosh.
And in the past 10 days alone. Since the attacks resumed, approximately 830 Palestinians have been killed.
That's heartbreaking.
It is, and according to Gaza's Ministry of Health, more than half of those killed were women and children. The UN is reporting that 142,000 Palestinians have been displaced since March 18th. And this displacement is making the humanitarian crisis even worse because of restrictions on aid. Now, despite mediation efforts by the US, Qatar, and Egypt, ceasefire negotiations are still stalled. Hamas is accusing Israel of undermining the talks. And Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has stated that he ordered this renewed offensive after Hamas rejected proposals to extend the ceasefire. He also reiterated his threat on Wednesday.
And what was that?
That Israel will seize territory in Gaza if Hamas doesn't release the remaining captives.
So the situation is very volatile.
Absolutely. Okay, well, shifting gears again, we have some news about a kidnapped Catholic priest in Nigeria who has been released.
That's good to hear.
It is Reverend Father John Ubaichu, who is the parish priest of Holy Family Catholic Church in Ezambe, in Imo State. He was released on Wednesday, March 26th. After being kidnapped on Sunday evening, he was traveling to Owerri for the annual retreat of priests in the Owerri Archdiocese.
I see.
And there were reports that a ransom of $20 million was demanded. But it's not clear if that was actually paid. The Archdiocese announced his safe return and expressed their gratitude.
Good news.
It is a parishioner named Oki, called on the Imo state government and security agencies to do more to address the ongoing problem of violent crimes in the Isha-Makuru area. He pointed out that Father Ubaichu was abducted in the same location where another priest was kidnapped back in 2023.
So it's a recurring problem.
It seems that way. He's suggesting that criminals have established escape routes in this area, and he urged the authorities to set up a security checkpoint to prevent future incidents.
Makes sense.
Okay, well, finally, some good news from Nigeria.
I like good news.
A teacher has been recognized internationally. Nigerian teacher Kayode Adwale, who teaches mathematics at Imegbanimika Comprehensive High School in Ogun State, has been named one of the top 50 finalists for the 2025 Global Teacher Prize.
That's fantastic.
He's being recognized for his innovative teaching methods in a resource-limited area.
That's impressive.
He uses local languages like Yoruba and Hausa to simplify complex mathematical concepts. And he also incorporates technology, like encouraging students to use their smartphones for educational purposes through platforms like Thames, Inquiry Learning Space, ILS, and FET simulations.
Wow, he's really embracing technology.
Yes, and reportedly this has boosted student performance and digital literacy.
That's great.
But his impact goes beyond the classroom.
How so?
He founded the Transformation 1090 initiative, which has provided training to over 30,000 educators.
Wow, that's amazing.
And he also started the Ogun 517 Go to Space program.
What's that?
Which aims to inspire students in space science. Through collaborations with global experts, including NASA scientists.
Wow, that's incredible.
He's also involved in environmental projects like tree planting campaigns and climate simulations.
So he's a very well-rounded educator.
Yes, and he was previously recognized as the second runner-up for Best Teacher in Nigeria.
He's racking up the accolades.
The Global Teacher Prize is awarded annually by the Varkey Foundation in partnership with UNESCO.
Okay.
It recognizes an exceptional teacher with a $1 million prize.
Oh, that's a huge honor.
It is the national orientation agency named Kayode Adwala, the real Nigerian of the week.
Good for him.
So he was a finalist. But ultimately, Mansour al-Mansour from Saudi Arabia was named the winner of the 2025 prize.
Still a huge accomplishment to be a finalist.
Absolutely. Okay, one last piece of news.
Yeah.
The UK government has published details of unclaimed estates belonging to 5,806 deceased individuals, including 58 Nigerians. These estates are classified as bona vacantia.
What does that mean?
It means that no valid claim has been made on these estates, and they could end up becoming property of the crown. The list was updated on Wednesday, March 26th, and it includes names, dates, and locations of death marital status and official reference numbers. So just to give a few examples, Arbel Aladakwa Abwar died in London in 1998. Ademia Debiit died in London. The day of death is unknown. Akani Jeremiah Adejumo died in London in 2017. And Victor Adedapo Olufemi Fani-Kayode died in Birmingham in 2001.
I see.
Now, under UK law, these estates are held for 30 years before permanently becoming crown property.
So there's still time.
Yes, if anyone believes they might have a claim to one of these estates, they can contact the UK government's Bona Vacantia division and provide documentary evidence of their relationship to the deceased.
Makes sense.
So things like birth certificates, marriage records, things like that. And a full list of the 58 names is available. So that wraps up our exploration of today's top news headlines for March 27th.
Sounds like a lot has happened.
It has. We've covered a lot of ground, from international conflicts to economic developments.
And human rights concerns.
Absolutely. It's clear that there are a lot of important events unfolding around the world. Thank you for listening to today's top news headlines on IAMC Radio and podcast.